I'm a mother of 3. My oldest daughter, Gracie, is from my first marriage. She's almost an adult. I have Milo, a tween, and Lyric, a pre-tween, with my current husband. My ex-husband and I separated days after Gracie's first birthday because he told me he wanted to see other women and wanted me to wait for him. I did not, and I filed for divorce. He always remained a part of Gracie's life, but he made it clear he only wanted me when it suited him. After the divorce, I met my current husband. Gracie was 4 years old when she was introduced to him. Her dad was angry when I found someone else. He hated my husband, and Gracie always knew it. I went through the courts when my ex would not stop bad-mouthing my husband to Gracie and did not leave her out of our adult issues. The courts were not helpful at all and sent us to co-parenting classes. Gracie was hesitant with my husband. She adored her dad and did not want him to feel hurt. This is something she told a therapist when she was young. Then when she was 8, her dad died, and it feels like there was no way my husband could be anything to her ever since then. We never expected him to be her dad, but to be someone she trusts and cares about. Gracie holds him at arm's length and does not treat him like a family member. She does not include him like she does the extended family. An example was last March. She was spotlighted in her art club. She sent a group chat message to me, both sets of grandparents and her uncles and aunts, but did not include my husband. I mentioned it to my husband when I got home, and she had already made it home before me and still had not told him. So I brought it up to her, and she said he was not on the need-to-know list for her. It hurts my husband, and I have tried to facilitate their relationship to be more, but I do not think it was enough. A couple of days ago, Gracie said she needed help with some engineering questions, and she wanted to go over to my brother-in-law's sister's husband's brother's house to ask him some questions. I asked her why she had to go through all that trouble when my husband could have answered the questions for her. She said it made more sense to her to ask her uncle's brother. This was when I told her I did not like how she treats my husband. Like he is not there, like he is not part of the family. I told her we never asked her to replace her dad or to consider them the same, but she excludes him and keeps him out, and he has only ever been kind to her. I told her it was something I would like her to work on. She got mad and told me I chose to marry him. She did not choose to have him in her life. She also said it was not my business what their relationship was like. I told her I am her mother, and I love her, and I am his wife, and I love him, and I just want them to get along. She is still angry with me, and I'm trying to figure out if I did something wrong. Did I do the wrong thing here? Am I the idiot? Not the idiot for what you said to her? Sadly, your ex may have completely poisoned Gracie's mind when she was very young, to the point where she has turned into this hateful teen towards your husband. I don't know if there will ever be a recovery from this, and shame on the courts as well. I'm sorry you have to be stuck in the middle of this. I would say your now deceased ex is the true idiot. Everyone is the idiot here. Often, when a parent tries to steer their child towards something, the child will go in the opposite direction. As hard as it may be, I think the subject should be dropped and you should accept Gracie where she is at. Listen, maybe in time, without the pressure, she will develop love and respect for the role her stepfather has provided. We can't change how others behave, only how we react to their behavior. This is exactly what I was thinking, especially since Dad is gone. I think that would make it seem more like a betrayal to her. Also, he died when she was at the age where Dad was the hero. He didn't live long enough for her to start seeing his flaws. This may not be flexible. Your daughter is a victim of your ex's manipulation and may benefit from therapy to unpack this, if she is not already receiving some. But she is almost an adult and old enough to know when she is being deliberately exclusionary and hurtful, and that is a form of bullying. She is old enough to know and do better. Does Gracie know the full story of why her dad left? It may be helpful to explain it to her. She doesn't know. I had her in therapy for years, both regular and grief therapy, but I never brought up my relationship issues with her dad. It never felt right to do that, even if he was an idiot to me. That might be time to tell her. She has this falsified image in her head that her dad was a perfect little angel that you left for another man. You will be the idiot to both her and yourself if you continue to withhold the truth. She needs to know that her dad lied to her while she was growing up. I disagree. The dad is deceased. Trying to prove he wasn't a good person may result in her distancing herself from you too, especially since it may look like a tactic to make her like your current husband. Clearly, your daughter wants to make it clear that your husband is not family to her. Her dad is not here to defend himself, so this may seem like a malicious attack on his memory. Let her keep her fond memories of her dad. I'm a 28-year-old female and I live alone in a small home that I inherited from my family. It's just me and my 2 cats. I will readily admit that I love the cold, mostly because I have a health condition that causes me to overheat easily and sweat a lot, which is uncomfortable. I keep my house at 63 degrees. When I have guests over, which is not often, I will bump it up to 72 degrees for their comfort. This usually only lasts a few hours. 10 hours or maybe a day at most. Recently, a friend of mine, a 29-year-old female, became homeless due to circumstances outside of her control. I consider us to be fairly close, so I offered to let her stay in my guest bedroom until she found somewhere else to live. For the first month or so, I kept my house at 72 degrees for her, but my friend would turn it up to 75 degrees. It was very uncomfortable for me, but I dealt with it. Now, it has been about 6 weeks since she moved in, and I notified her that I would be turning the temperature down to 68 degrees and asked her not to touch the thermostat anymore. I thought this was a fair compromise, and I could at least be somewhat comfortable at 68 degrees until she got back on her feet. However, she threw an absolute fit. She told me that 68 degrees was not livable, and that she had a right to be comfortable. I reminded her that she was staying here rent-free, but she said it didn't matter and called me a huge idiot for expecting her to live in freezing cold temperatures. She insisted that 75 degrees was normal and 68 degrees was not. I offered to buy her a heater for her room, but she said she deserved to be comfortable in the whole house, not just trapped in one room. Up until this point, I had not given her a timeline to move out. But after this disagreement, I said it would probably be best if she moved out within the next month or so, since this arrangement doesn't seem to be comfortable for either of us. This made her even angrier. I know I like it unusually cold, so I'm not sure if I'm being unreasonable here. Am I the idiot? But the idiot? In fact, economic experts used to recommend keeping the temperature at 75 degrees in the summer and 65 degrees in the winter to save energy and money. If she's that cold, she can use a blanket. Buy an electric blanket, use a heater, wear socks, etc. Also, if she's staying there rent-free and expecting you to pay to heat your house to 75 degrees in the dead of winter, she better be retroactively contributing to the electric and gas bill for the last 6 weeks that she's been going behind your back and messing with the thermostat. Just the thought of it makes me so mad. Does she want to live in a terrarium? This woman is throwing around what she has a right to and what she deserves. The entitlement and delusion are strong within her. This woman has gotten way too comfortable, and the OPs realize that this may get messy. I, a 28-year-old male, have a sister who is 30 and in the National Guard. 2 months ago, she asked me if I could watch her dog during her deployment, which will last about a year. She originally wasn't going on it, but some members of her unit got into a car accident. I got into a car accident that resulted in 2 deaths and the other person being medically discharged. As a result, she now has to leave. When she asked for help, I could have theoretically taken her dog and assisted her. I have a dog myself, and I know it would have taken some effort to integrate them into a pet-friendly situation. However, I simply did not want to. I had the time, but I just didn't want to, and that should be a valid reason on its own. So my sister rehomed her dog and informed our family about it. No one is angry with me, but they agree that the overall situation is not ideal. It has been about a month now, and my sister is currently deployed. She brought up the topic in our family chat, and she is still upset about it. I tried to reassure her that everything was okay, and that her dog is in a better place now, being taken care of by new people. She became quiet, and the conversation moved on. My dad made a disapproving face, and later told me that what I said was not okay. He explained that it was unfair for me to say that, because it was not my fault for not wanting another dog temporarily. He also said that as a family, we should help each other, and realistically, I had no right to say what I did. He even called me an idiot. So, am I the idiot for telling my sister that her dog is in a better place? Of course I am the idiot. I'm autistic, and I have a diagnosis of struggling to understand social norms. Even with that, I would never consider saying something so casually cruel or thoughtlessly hurtful. My sister did not rehome her dog because she was a bad pet owner or because her home was not a safe, loving, or supportive place for her pet. She did it because she had no other reasonable option. It was the most loving thing she could do for her beloved pet, to find it a good home herself instead of giving it up to a shelter where its future would be uncertain. And on top of that, she had to do it while grieving the loss of 2 fellow guardsmen and possibly dealing with the serious illness or injury of another. I cannot even imagine the stress she is under. And in that moment, you looked at her and thought that the kind and supportive thing to do was to suggest that her beloved family member was better off without her in someone else's home. Just wow. Of course, I am the idiot, and I owe her a huge apology. I had the ability to help my sister take care of her beloved pet while she was deployed, but I chose not to. And then I heartlessly said hurtful things to her because she misses her dog. Is this how you always act? The dog is not in a better place. You basically told your sister that she was a bad pet owner, and that is not okay. And it's good that she lost her pet. And yes, your sister will be upset at you about this for pretty much the rest of your lives. So figure out why and what went wrong. Do not pull a surprise Pikachu face when you need an emergency babysitter. Your car broke down, you got into an accident, etc. And you need to borrow one ASAP and can't wait on insurance. You're visiting and you'd like to stay at her place. Or you get in an accident and need physical support because frankly, she'll tell you that she has the time and could, but doesn't want to. My husband, 33, Al, is the only son in his family. He's spoiled as heck by his mom and 3 sisters. The way I see it, they treat him like royalty, calling him an heir and gifting him expensive stuff. A prince-level treatment. I didn't have an issue with it initially, since they consider it showing love and appreciation, but I used to get into a lot of arguments with his mom and sisters about not making efforts to treat him the way they treat him. Basically, they claim I'm not showing the same level of respect that they show him, and because of that, I got disinvited from lots of events, including Christmas. Our stance is to stay out of it. And when I complained about his family disinviting me from Christmas, he said he couldn't force them to have guests they didn't want. Palpitations on the morning of his flight, he slept in and didn't wake up on time. He woke up freaking out and yelling about me being petty and not waking him up before his flight after he asked me to. The reason I didn't wake him up was that I was asleep myself too. Well, I wake up early just to wake him up. His phone was away since he hates sleeping near electronics. He left in a rush and tried to get on another flight, but failed due to the airports being packed. As a result, he missed the Christmas celebration with his family. His mom and sisters are angry, claiming I did this to get back at them and to isolate him from them. Inks, I acted petty and vicious when I could have woken him up to go be with his family. He's still mad and claiming I ruined the holidays for him. Am I the idiot? This is not about your husband sleeping late. You're not a human alarm clock for a man in his mid-30s. This is about your husband, allowing his family to exclude you. He's treating you terribly. Why are you putting up with it? He gets 2 business cards, one for a marriage counselor and one for a divorce lawyer. He can choose who he wants you to call. Not the idiot OPI. This man can't even set his own alarm. Are we sure he can use his phone to make calls instead of just accepting incoming ones? I'm so tired of these partners staying out of it when their mothers are being rude or isolating. Inaction is a decision, which is what they're doing is fine. He's also not staying out of it when he claims Alp acted petty and vicious. He's actively taking his family's side, and his inability to stand up for his wife is also taking his family's side. Like, he's totally cool with them criticizing her. Not only that, but he's willing to leave Alp alone on Christmas to be with them and said it ruined the holidays for him to be forced to stay with his wife. He might as well go back and live with his mother if he's holding his own wife in such contempt. Stop, you deserve better than this. Marriage is supposed to be a partnership where you can rely on one another through tough times and rejoice together through good times. I don't think you have either of those. You will be an idiot if you don't reevaluate this relationship. He's not a prince and you're not his servant. If he refuses to sleep near electronics, then he should make alternative arrangements for an alarm, like a rooster. Oh please, let's get this dude a rooster with a little crown. After being disinvited from family Christmas because you don't worship your husband, he should be happy that he's still married. What are you getting out of this relationship? He should be on your side in disputes with his family, not covertly staying out of it. Last night, we planned on meeting for Mexican food to celebrate a friend's birthday. I was the first to arrive 15 minutes early. I collected our reservation and was set. I ordered my drink and just chips and salsa while I waited. Maybe 10 minutes later, the server, who was incredibly good-looking, as an aside, brought out a plate of nachos. I told him I didn't order them, and he said, "Your friend Andrea called and said she was running very late and wanted you to get started." I said, "Cool." I started snacking. Pretty soon, this massive text wall started about how everyone was running late, at least an hour. I told everyone I was okay and was happy to wait since I was enjoying chatting with the server and was getting up the nerve to ask him if he had a girlfriend. I continued to snack on the nachos. After an hour, people started to show up and the nachos were gone. Andre got there last and asked, "What happened to the nachos?" I very casually said, "I ate them." She looked at me in shock and said, "Those were for the table. They were $35. I said I was sorry, but they were getting cold and I was the only one here. And I said thank you, and I would pay for them. She said she had already put them on her credit card when she called. I said I would gladly buy her drinks. Then, in this very cranky voice, "Well, I can't drink, I'm pregnant, and this isn't how I wanted to announce it." So the pregnancy announcement changed the subject. When it came time to order, I said I was stuffed and didn't want an entree. Andrea got really upset again and said she wasn't going to sit here and take this, and got up and walked out. I was in shock because I felt like even though I shouldn't have eaten the nachos, I did try to make up for it. Andrea went on a tirade in the text while the rest of us were trying to eat. The consensus at the table was she wasn't feeling good and that I should just ignore her. So I did. I've tossed and turned over this all night because I made my friend mad. Was I the idiot? What the idiot? An hour's a long time to wait when you're hungry, and who would have wanted to eat cold nachos anyway? You were on time and everyone else was late, including the woman who organized the whole thing. Most other people would have left after the first 30 minutes, and you didn't want to waste $35 worth of food. I hope you got that waiter's number. No, don't hit on service people. They're just trying to do their jobs. And honestly, it's disgusting that people are cheering this on just because the server is male. Hitting on female servers is considered harassment. Anyway, Andrea's pregnancy is no excuse for her behavior. Imagine making someone wait an hour in a restaurant alone and then getting mad at them.